Hi, my name is Eduardo Hernandez, and today I will be presenting Quicksand by Nella Larson, specifically chapters 14 through 25. Let's begin with some background on the author, Nella Larson. This novel, she writes it as an autobiographical fiction, meaning that many events in the novel are based off real life, but mainly the characters are fictional and made up by the author. And we can see many parallels between Nella and the main protagonist, Helga, as they share similar qualities, and we can see that Ella took inspiration from her life when she wrote this character. To begin, Nella Larson was born in Chicago, Illinois in 1891, and Larson was born to immigrant parents, Mary Hansen from Denmark and Peter Walker from the West Indies. And already we can see some parallels to Helga, as she had a Danish mother and an African American father, where her father also left her when she was young, as Nella Larson's father left their family when Nella was 2 years old. Nella's mother remarried a Danish man, and for most of her life, she attended predominantly white schools in Chicago, but she went on to move to Nashville with her family, and she enrolled in Fisk Normal School, which was a different environment for her, as she was integrated more into an African American community. She went on to attain a degree at Lincoln School for Nurses in the Bronx, and with her degree, she got a job in Alabama. Continuing on some more background information, she then moved to New York and met Elmer Imes, which is an African American physicist and also the second African American to receive a PhD. She married Elmer Imes in 1919, and soon after that, she found an interest in literature and worked at the New York Public Library. Continuing on, she published two novels, the first of which was Quicksand in 1928, and the second was Passing in 1929. After that, she had some she had some difficulties in her marriage, and after after finding out that her husband had an affair, she divorced him in 1933. Her literature soon came to a halt as she was having many troubles in her life, and she lived quietly until she died in 1964. So she didn't publish much other than those two novels and some other short stories. The scene that I want to analyze and look into, which I found interesting, was a wedding proposal where Alex Olson finally proposes to Helga, and this happens in chapter 15. And when Helga first arrives in Denmark and meets Axel Olsen, she is really eager to get to know him, and at one point wants him to propose to her. But at this point in their lives, Helga is surprised by his proposal. Helga ultimately rejects his proposal and nothing would change her mind. And Helga states, "You see, I couldn't marry a white man. I simply couldn't." Helga is really disconnected from her African American culture, and she feels like she can't marry a white man because she has that desire to reconnect with her African American people. And this ultimately leads her to deciding that she wants to return to America and reconnect with their culture. Um, Another thing I found interesting also in this chapter is that Alex makes an interesting comment during their dialogue. And and he says that his portrait that he was painting of her resembles a tragic, a tragic portrait. And I find this interesting because in the end, Helga Helga's life ends in a tragedy as she wants to run away from her life, but she is bound to her children in the end. So she's helpless and can't do much. The discussion questions I have, the first one being that throughout the novel, Helga is in search of both happiness and acceptance into her Black community, and after many attempts, her story comes to a tragic end. We can see this as when she is teaching in Naxos, she is in touch with her community, but she doesn't seem as happy. And once she moves to Harlem, she's also in touch with her community, but misses her family, so she moves to Denmark. And once she's in Denmark, everything seems happy for her and going well, but she feels disconnected from her African American culture, and she just can't attain both. So my question is, do you think Helga's story is destined to end in a tragedy because she is not willing to settle without hitting all the criteria on her list? And does her hope for attaining her perfect life lead to her tragic end? Second question I had for you is that Helga continuously chooses to run away whenever she feels uncomfortable. When do you think Helga should have chosen to embrace the life she has and settled for what she has and appreciated her life instead of choosing to run away in search of something else? And my final question is that in from tragic mulatta to grotesque racial horror, epic slash exceptionalism, and Larson's Quicksand, Routledge comments on the change of title Larson makes from Cloudy Amber to Quicksand. My question is, what was Nella Larson attempting to communicate with the title Quicksand? What symbolism is in that title? And here's the works cited page.